So welcome back, or welcome if you haven't been here before. I'm Allegories Horror Stories, and what we do here usually is we talk about books and stuff, usually horror books, hence the horror stories part of it, right? Right. Okay, I am live. So what I'm trying to do is get set up on the computer so I can kind of keep an eye on the live stream in case anybody comments and I miss it, which I usually don't. Kind of keep an eye on the live stream. There we go. And the other thing I need to do is call up my recipe. Oh, that's what I forgot. Eggs and sour cream. Doot, doot, doot. Oh, and it's 4:30. So today what we're making, we're going to talk about Rebecca by Daphne Maurier, and we are going to make hot floury scones. Now, knowledge of the English language rules would suggest it's scones, but my grandmother was from Cornwall, and she always pronounced it scones, and so that's what we're making. And the reason, and also, Rebecca is not, it's never expressly stated that it takes place in Cornwall, but all of the geographical markers and a lot of things would suggest that it takes place in Cornwall. So we're going to pronounce it the Cornish way. Scones! All right, so what do I need to do here? Oh, and the other thing that I kind of want to do, so these scones are from scratch, but I want to do the Pepsi challenge because I'm used to the Bisquick ones. And we will make the Bisquick ones and we will make the scones ones, and I'm pretty sure the ones from scratch will taste better. Not to, knock the Bisquick because, of course, I've been using it my whole life. So we shall see. All right, what do we got here? So I washed the pan, but it is still kind of wet. Now, the last time I was able to get all my ingredients measured out beforehand, but I didn't have time for that today. So you're going to have to watch me do this. I do apologize. So today, I don't know what the weather's like where you are, but it is definitely spring. You know how I know it's spring? Because we have the spring, I don't even know what you want to call it. We have a joke in Southern Ontario here where they say if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes, it'll change. So yesterday it was 18 degrees Celsius, which is high 70s, or not high 70s, low 70s-ish. No, that's not right. Double it and add 30. So 36 and 30 is 66. So high 60s. Okay. And it was kind of raining. And then it got cold overnight. And now, today, it's snowing. And yet it's also sunny. I haven't been outside yet. So I'm just going to leave that weather to the birds. All right. So there's one pan clean and mostly dry. And the oven is preheating its preheats. And then another pan, mostly dry. I gotta drag out the parchment paper. So I see there's a few people in the watching list. It seems to keep kind of going up and down, I guess, as people find the stream. So I just want to say hello and welcome. Hello, Maddie Caraballo. Nice to see you here. You got a little crown. I don't know what the little crowns mean. I wish I did. I'm sorry. Okay. So now I have to reach over and grab the parchment paper. Oh, there it is. See, I already put it on the counter and forgot that I put it there. My memory is getting worse and worse. Yes. All right. Now, we have, it is longer than it is wide. Okay, so we'll just do that one for the smaller pan. Okay, so now we have two don't think this is going to be very useful, but I will spread it out, obviously, before I use it. And yes, my nose is dripping a little, weirdly enough. Okay. Okay. So, I'm cooking from a gothic cookbook, and they talk about the chapter that talks about Rebecca talks about the tyranny of tea. And they point out how, so actually I should tell you the premise of the book before I go any further. So the premise of the book is, it's told from the point of view of this young woman who is never named. She never gets a name. And she is working as a companion for a woman in Monte Carlo. And this woman is, she's awesome. She's every American stereotype. She's loud, she's rude, she's got terrible manners, but she's also rich. So she can afford to hire a girl to do whatever it is she's doing for her, drive her around, take her out to dinner, be at parties with her, whatever. And at one of these parties, she meets Mr. De Winter, and he starts, I guess he takes a bit of a shine to our protagonist and starts driving her around. And one day he says, okay, you're going to marry me. And she's like, okay. So, I mean, hey, like, who doesn't need a rich guy to just pop the question one day after you've known him for 3 weeks? So, and this is also the day when her employer is going back to America. So they get married, they go back to his home on the seaside. Hello, Chad's Gaming. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And problem is that this place, he was married to a woman for lots of years, and she was well loved by, by the staff and by the community, and she died in a boating accident. And ever since then, there's nobody that can fill her big floppy clown shoes. So the new Mrs. De Winter spends all of her time kind of hiding in her room, or taking, say her staff says, what do you want for lunch? And she's like, I don't know. And they say, well, Rebecca, the previous Mrs. De Winter, she always knew what she wanted. And there's this housekeeper named Mrs. Danvers. Now, up until she does something really, really mean, I don't see any, all that much of a problem with her. I mean, she's just a lady who's kind of stuck in her ways doing her job. I don't know why she's painted as the villain until she does this really bad thing. But this, and quite frankly, trolls online do it all the time. So yeah, not even really that bad, but I don't know, it's a different sensibility. So it turns out, maybe Rebecca wasn't as well loved as we thought, and maybe the circumstances of her death aren't what we thought, and things get a lot more interesting. So the book was written, or was first published in 1938. It's never been out of print. It's a slow read. It's very moody, but after a while, you kind of get lulled into this, just this sense that something's off, right? And is it a ghost story? Not exactly. She's not haunting the place, but everything about her is just everywhere. And I don't know if you've ever lived in situations like that. I've kind of always lived in situations like that, where somebody else's stuff and presence and spirit just pushes you all the way back, even if it's your house. And I was like, oh boy, this is well, I can kind of relate to this. But one thing I did find, actually, I'll keep cooking here while I'm working on it. All right, let's go back to I'll talk about that in a minute, but I do want to get back to the recipe here. All right, that's 3/4 of a cup. How much of this do we need? 2 cups of all-purpose flour, a pinch of salt, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 2 tablespoons of butter, fridge cold and cubed, plus extra for greasing, 1 egg, and 2/3 of a cup of sour cream. Now the sour cream is going to make it nice and rich. Okay, so sift the dry ingredients into a large bowl and rub the butter in with your fingertips to form the texture of coarse breadcrumbs. All right, it doesn't require sugar, so we'll put that over there. strainer, I think. I don't know. I've never sifted flour in my life, so it should be interesting. So, my roommate's whispering over there. I don't know if you can hear her or not. I don't know how good the mic on my headset is to set up. Okay, 3/4 of a cup. Well, this is a 3/4 cup. I don't know. Do we have? There we go. We have 1/4 of a cup. There we go. That's probably better. All right. You want to count with me? Count with me. All right. So that's 1/4 cup. Oop. How much baking powder do we need here? Okay, so 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Look at that. I actually have a proper teaspoon. There's my baking powder. Sorry to reach behind you, behind the camera. I'm going to tell you a secret. My roommate bought this fancy electric can opener, which I haven't yet used, but I'm using it to prop up my camera. Sorry. I do a lot of impromptu stuff like that because oh, that's all right. Hey, look at that. All right, want to watch me sift? Look at that. It's snowing. My friend says he bought a lawnmower, and then it started snowing. So he's going to go back to the store and buy a... Okay, what did I do with my little thing? Did I stick it? Oh, man. Sorry. Okay, so that's 1/2 cup. What did I do with my little cup? Oh, no. Okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to go with 3/4 of a cup. Okay, that's a funnel. That's not going to work. Hmm?
The little one, the little red one's what you're looking for. I was buying the coffee cups.
I know, and I just used it and I put it down. Now I can't find it. Yeah, I do that a lot. That's an unfortunate ADD problem. So you're going to have to excuse me while I get up. Oh, Yes, I did toss it. No, I didn't toss it in the sink. What the hell? Okay, it's disappeared. There was an episode of The Twilight Zone where there are these little men that make they make the time, right? And then they build the minutes as they happen. And every time they build a new minute, sometimes they forget stuff. So, little guy, bring back my cup. Unless I stuck it in the bag. You know what? I'm thinking I stuck it in the bag. Oh, yeah, I stuck it in the bag. Okay. Ooh, ow. Sorry about that. All right. So that's 2. Three, 4, now the one thing that I didn't do was watch the Hitchcock version of the film, which won the Best Picture in 1940, or the remake that came out on Netflix a few years ago. So that is on my list. I just kind of ran out of time. And then I really, really, really wanted to make these hot flour scones. You know what? Sifting is a real pain in the butt. This is probably why I never do it. All right. And all right. So this next one's 3/4 of a cup. We're just going to make the bigger cup. It'll go faster. This is why I try to get these things measured out beforehand so you don't have to watch me do it. That's okay. There's nobody watching right now anyway. thought that the purpose of sifting flour was so that you didn't get little balls of flour. Oh shoot. But you're going to turn the flour into little balls anyway. So what is the point of sifting the flour? That's what I want to know. But we'll do it because that's what it says. That's what the recipe says to do. I don't like this. This is boring. Okay. So we're sifting the flour. Blah, 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 blah. But I hope that these are tasty in the end and they are worth it. Oh, come on. Boy. Okay, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to... Okay. Another quarter cup, and hopefully that's not too much flour because some of it spilled, but it didn't look like... I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm definitely not a baking whiz. Never have been. Probably never will be. Okay. What does the recipe call for next? A pinch of salt. Now, I don't know who decided a pinch was an adequate measurement, so we'll just do that. Apparently a pinch is something like half a teaspoon, though, so... So what is everybody reading? Do you want to leave me a comment and let me know what you're reading? Okay, now comes the fun part. Now, when I was a kid, when I was a kid, my grandpa, we didn't have anything fancy like a pastry cutter, but he would always take 2 knives and cut the butter into the flour. Now, this is going to be really weird because the knives are different size. You know what? I'm just going to use bigger knives. Probably better. Ooh, ah. Alrighty. So here's the fun part. So you take 2 tablespoons. Hello, Dan U93C. Is that an L or an I? I can't tell. But hello. I hope you're very well on this fine Sunday afternoon. So here's the butter. Ooh. And it's cold. I just took it out of the freezer. And it says you need 2 tablespoons. I'm going to say that's about a teaspoon. And that's another, I don't know, teaspoon. So 3 teaspoons are a tablespoon. And you need 2 tablespoons. Ooh. Now, if I have to, I will crumble it with my fingers. But I like to use the 2 knives. I used to do this when I was a kid. 2. And let's have another. That's 3. Kind of. Now we'll do it some more. I don't know. That's one thing. I've never really made scones before. I've made tea biscuits, which are pretty much the same thing. But the buttering that happens. Oh. So you take your knives and you crisscross applesauce and you cut the butter into the flour. I don't know if this is working. No idea. But I may have to do this with my fingers. And nobody's watching anyway, so that's okay. I can stand up. Okay. So you're supposed to do this till it's crumbly, but I'm not even seeing my butter anymore. I don't like this. I don't don't know, maybe it needs more butter. What do you think? Should I add more butter? Should I do it with my fingers? Because it just kind of disappeared into the dough, into the flour, into the dry stuff. Oh, there's more. So, I don't know. What do you guys think? You know what? I think I'm gonna take the plunge. I'm gonna add a little more butter, and then I'm gonna wash my hands and do this. All right, hopefully that's enough butter now, because I think if I add too much, it'll probably affect the dough. Alrighty. And while I'm up, I'm gonna grab my egg and my sour cream. Don't know where the sour cream is. There was sour. Oh, there it is. Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay, I guess I'll have to try this with my fingers this time. Alrighty. And it's not really that I'm fussy about getting my hands dirty. I just don't like using my hands to mix stuff up. I don't like food on my hands for very long. A little bit's okay, like if I'm eating with my hands, I guess, but mostly I just... Alright, let's see. Let's see if using my hands is any more effective. I don't like it. I don't know if it's crumbly enough. I don't know, what do you think? When I was a kid, it used to work. I don't know why it's not working now. Maybe because I've sifted the flour. And then as soon as you crumble it, of course, by its very nature, it sort of goes back together. Well, I don't know. Maybe we can just add the wet ingredients and hopefully hopefully it will turn into something resembling a dough. I don't know. Okay. Well, I've got, my hands have been in every part of this flour and I've got sticky stuff on them, so I think that's as good as it's gonna get. It's not really crumbly though. It's supposed to be crumbly, and I don't like it when it's not. Do you have any ideas? Is it supposed to be crumbly, or do I just add the wet ingredients? Because you know how you cut the butter into it and then it's supposed to crumble? It's not crumbling.
when you roll it with your fingers, like try and press it together, does it crumble at all?
Yeah.
It's lumpy, right?
There's lumps in it.
Well, try the wet ingredients.
Okay.
You can
Well,
always start again.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here.
She's been talking about this all week.
I don't know if you heard that. My roommate is just saying I've been talking about this for a while because I really want to make these. Well, I don't know. I think that's as good as she's going to get. Okay. Yeah, now I'm kind of covered in flour. Okay. Butter. 1 egg, 2/3 of a cup of sour cream. Okay. So preheat the oven, which I did. Grease a large baking sheet, which I did not. I used parchment paper. Do I still have to grease it if I put parchment paper on it?
You mean the pan? No.
Okay. Sift the dry ingredients.
I would put a little bit of the margarine, the soft margarine.
Okay.
Just lightly put some of that on.
Okay.
That way it's not going to stick to the pan. Or the paper, sorry.
Okay. Oh. Excuse me while I wash my hands again. So. Dead air. Oh. That's okay. Dead times are for when nobody's watching anyway, right? So let's see here. So here's my bowl. Put it all in a bowl, baby. I'll use this one. Ow. So we'll get the hands out again. Put them over there for now. Ow. Okay, so I need the egg. 2/3 of a cup of sour cream. And of course, I dropped a shell in it. I always do.
Know what to get you for Christmas?
What?
An egg separator.
You can do that. You can actually do that with a little water bottle. Yeah, but instead of that, you break the egg, and then you can take a water bottle and you can actually just suck up the yolk. Yep. So I got my egg. Now I have a 3/4 of a cup measuring cup. Okay, we'll put that there. And we will measure out the sour cream. idea. See, I'm trying to do the math in my head of how much of 3/4 of a cup is 2/3 of a cup. So 3/4, 6/12 is half. Is that like 9/12? Anyway, math was never my strong suit. So 1 egg, 3/4 of a cup, about, of this amazing sour cream. Forget the non-fat stuff, kids. %18 milk fat is where it is at. Okay. So now I gotta beat my egg and my sour cream together. Get my little fork out of the way. I'll get this first and then I'll do the proper. I might actually need to put a little bit of milk in this because this sour cream is very thick. So I was, so these eggs, funny story. Last time I ordered some stuff from Walmart, I only ordered a few things, but I sent my nephew down to wait for the guy. Well, I guess the guy must have gone in the back door because my nephew was down there waiting and waiting, and we didn't see him. And said to my sister, like, where is he? He's been down there a while. So she was opening the door, going to meet my nephew, and there's all these groceries there. So there's my groceries, but there's a whole bunch of groceries that are not what I ordered. So I really hope that whoever didn't get their groceries that night at least got their money back or got another order. So we had a whole bunch of bananas, and we had milk, eggs, lettuce. But these eggs, they sent us 60 eggs. Like, I don't know who was waiting for 60 eggs, but man.
I think they just, because the store was closed the next day, it was perishables, most of it that would, they gave to you because of the fact that they didn't want it to go bad.
I don't think so. I think it was somebody's order. But it could be. Could very well have been just. Okay, so I got my little Temu leaf whipper. Ooh. That makes kind of a mess. Look at it go. Yay! Yeah, if I ever make something like meringue, I'm so going to use this. Okay. Alrighty. That's much less unwieldy than the big cake stand mixer. Alright, so let's put this in here. Got my flour, got my egg, got my sour cream. But what I need is one of those little rubber spatula things. Scrape out the bowl. Oop. Okay, I know there's one in here, so I don't have to stand up again.
There's one in the,
Oh, this one right here. I told you there was one. Alrighty. So back to Rebecca. One thing that is cringeworthy from a modern lens is the depiction of the one character who's mentally challenged. It's not clear what his disability is, but I would hazard a guess to say that he's got Down syndrome. Unfortunately, in the first half of the 20th century, and this, by the way, is where these words come from, they would classify people by the words idiot, imbecile, and moron. An idiot was a person with an IQ of under 25 who functioned at the level of about a 2-year-old, An imbecile was a person with an IQ of 25 to 50 who functioned about the level of a 3 to 4-year-old. And a moron was a person with an IQ of about 50 to 70, functioned 5 to 8 years old, maybe, something like that. Anyway, you can look it up, and these were how they classified people back in those days, which once the words started being used as insults, they stopped using those words as psychiatric classifications. So this young man, his name's Benny, is unfortunately described as an idiot, which is really not cool to be reading through a modern lens. And it's clear that, I mean, this poor guy probably is a lot smarter than people give him credit for, and he knows when to keep his mouth shut for sure, because he saw some stuff that he probably was not expected to be seeing. So when the new Mrs. De Winter comes across him near the boathouse, he's really scared that somebody's going to send him to the asylum, and he doesn't want to go. And she's like, no, nobody's going to send you there. So I just thought that the depiction, which makes it strange, again, through a modern lens, reading about this character, because the character's he's not a hero exactly, but he's portrayed with a certain amount of dignity. You know, he's a neighbor, and everybody knows who he is, and they try to treat him well, and it's just that they call him an idiot, which isn't even an accurate description from the way that he's described. So anyway, I found that a little bit uncomfortable. Okay, so these scones are looking real dry, so I think I might need to, okay, so our protagonist rarely actually eats any of the afternoon tea spreads laid out for her. Perhaps she realizes that every element, including the piping hot and flour scones, is prepared as Rebecca demanded. So instead, she prefers to steal a few crumbs to nibble on when no one's looking. Well, she's not even going to get crumbs from these. Hopefully, you'll feel free to eat these scones with gusto. Taking hot as a clue, this recipe yields scones meant to be split, buttered, and scoffed straight from the oven, though they will keep in an airtight container for a few days. Okay. Okay, mixing gradually to form a dough. Oh, you're supposed to mix it gradually. Oops, I didn't do that. Okay, maybe that was my fault, my problem. I wonder what would happen if I use my little beater. You may actually have to add some milk to moisten this dip. Now it's kind of crumbly, the way it wasn't before. I don't know, maybe I should look up what to do if your scones are dry, like they're not even forming a dough. All right. Biscuit dough to dry. Gently mix in extra liquid, 1 tablespoon at a time, until the dough is just hydrated, sticky, and holds together. All right, I think I'm going to have to do that. Okay, we'll move that over there. All right. ham. Okay, so tablespoon at a time. Well, we'll just do a little splash. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, getting a little bit better, a little wetter. Can't be too wet because you got to be able to roll it out. Still pretty crumbly. All right, let's add a little more milk. Okay, getting there, getting there. Yes, I definitely have to get to a doctor. When I stir like this for a long time, I get pain down here. Sometimes my fingers go numb. Sometimes I get trigger finger. It is not fun. I think there's definitely something wrong with my hands. Ooh, it's starting to look like dough. So I don't know. What do you think? Should I add a little bit more moisture, or just keep trying to mix it up and see if it'll roll out? What do you think? What do you think, audience? Oh, there's one person watching. Hello. It smells pretty good. I know they're going to bake up nicely. So, if you're just joining us, I'm making hot Floury scones from the Gothic cookbook in the spirit of Rebecca, which I just finished. I actually listened to the audiobook for this one instead of the book. And I would give it, I'd say 4 out of 5 stars. It does start a little bit slow because it's kind of building an atmosphere, but turns out pretty good. Huh. Okay. What do you think? I think I can roll that out. Let's give it a try. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to move it over here.
Make sure you put flour on the rolling pin.
Yep. I'm actually going to put this stuff back in the fridge and give the rolling pin a little wash. All right, now comes the moment of truth. We're going to try rolling these out. Okay, how do I do this? I'm going to very carefully, I'm actually going to put some parchment paper down to roll on so that it's not directly on the counter. And we're going to put a little flower. I'm going to push this back just a little bit so that you guys can see what I'm doing here. Okay, so here's my surface. Put my baking powder here on one side, my salt on the other to hold it. Now I've got a little flour. And I've got a little flour on the I can always add more. Alright, moment of truth, guys. Let's see. So here's my dough. Still a little bit not quite moist, but feels a little better than it did. I'm gonna take this and we're gonna roll it out. Let's see what we got here. Okay. Alright, that's not doing too hot. Okay. I'm gonna get this to about an inch and a half. Bashing against the hammer there. Don't need to do that. Yeah, now these ladies at the Vanderlei did this every morning. Okay. They look pretty good. Let's get the thing out. You know the thing, all these technical terms. Oh, there's my stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna grease up the pan a little, put down some parchment paper, and we can grease the pan, make sure it doesn't stick, and put down the parchment. We'll unroll if it's got longer to stick to, right? Oh, there we go. Okay. Now, when I was a kid, my grandpa, the recipe calls for using a cutter. But when I was a kid, my grandpa always used a juice glass, so I'm going to use a glass. Oops. There was still water in that. Did not mean to do that. Let's try this again. Alrighty. Doesn't seem to make very many. I think it said it was supposed to make something like a dozen, but that's also 5 centimeters, so these are considerably bigger than that. So we'll make nice big scones. And yes, I cook sitting down. Oh, look at, isn't that look yummy? Oh, I want to put little happy faces on them. They look so yummy. Hopefully they will bake up nicely and we'll see how they go. Ooh, look at that. What do you think? Oh, we'll see how well they cook with their tops just a little wet. Now, when my mother made tea biscuits, she didn't bother to roll them out and press them like this. So they were always kind of these crumbly humps. They were tasty enough, and they were always burnt on the bottom. All right, let's do some more rolling. Rolling. But one thing I will say is Mandalay as a place sounds incredibly beautiful. Like I said, my grandmother was from Cornwall, and I always wanted to go see the ocean, the beaches. My grandmother, during the war, she worked in a munitions factory, and her name was Rosie. She was literally Rosie the Riveter. And her family was a devout Catholic. She still lived with them at 33 years old, because I guess that's kind of what women did back then. They just didn't have a lot of options, even if they were working. So, and they did not want her to marry that Canadian boy. And all her hair fell out. Her family disowned her. So they didn't speak again till just before she passed away. Her family got in touch with her. And so there were some pictures and letters and stuff that from her youth that kind of turned up in her effects. When she passed, she was 80 years old, and she was a tiny little thing. She had black hair and blue eyes. And I guess that came from her Irish granny. Let's see here. Grandma was, and when they came over to Canada, my grandfather, I believe, worked at Meat. So they lived in this factory, and my grandfather worked in, I can't remember if it was the post office. No, my grandma worked at the post office, and my grandfather worked for the store. And every day she was this tiny little lady. She's a great big person. She would walk real fast. And every day she would walk to work, she would make breakfast, she would walk to work, she would go home, she would cook lunch. Ooh. She would cook lunch, and it was usually something very large and British, like a roast or whatever. And then she would walk back to work. Can we spread this out just a little bit so I can make another one? Yeah, we can do that. Alright, I think I have enough dough for definitely one, possibly two. Let's roll this out again. Okay, what do you think? We'll just make one big flumpy scone rather than rolling out the last little bit of dough. Look at that. This will be the misshapen scone. What do you think? Okay. So there's my tray of scones. 4, 5, 6. So I made 10. They look pretty yummy. So I'm gonna go now, but I want to thank everybody who joined in. We've got Dan. Oops. We've got Chad's Gaming, and we've got Mandy who stopped in to say hello. For everybody else who stopped in to watch and then left and then came back, really glad to have you here. I will post pictures and maybe a little video of how these turn out tomorrow. All right, so stay tuned. Go read Rebecca. It's a great book, and I will see you next time. Cooking and booking. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and I hope you're reading lots of horror.